Welcome to our Montego project. Jay Bradburn here with Bradburn Group of Companies. I'm going to take you on a little bit of a walk through this project from start to finish, explain to you how we sat with the clients initially and tried to figure out exactly what we were going to be doing for the budget that they've allocated. And then we're going to talk about how we transitioned that renovation through the main floor and ultimately downstairs into the basement. Right from the get-go, sitting with these clients, it was actually quite enjoyable because they had done a tremendous amount of homework on their end prior to engaging us. They'd put some serious consideration into ultimately what their spend was going to be on this project, but they were really struggling with what should be a priority, what is the order and sequence that things should be done, ultimately how long was it going to take. So we really sat down, worked through all of the details, checked all of the boxes as far as what they were trying to accomplish. And then together we came up with what I think ended up being a really great action plan for this project. Ultimately, they got exactly what they wanted. We made a lot of changes on the fly as we opened things up. There were a lot of challenges, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. But ultimately, the clients got exactly what they wanted. And really, that's ultimately what we're after in every one of these projects. So initially, when they came to us, it was, we know we want to do our basement, but we're thinking that in the future, we're going to make some alterations to the kitchen. So again, when I hear those types of things, I start to ask certain questions. Ultimately, on the main floor, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish in the end? We know that you want to do the basement. What potentially could be the impact of finishing that basement space first and not doing the main floor? So we worked through all of those details. In this case, they were hoping to lengthen the kitchen into the dining room space because the dining room space often wasn't utilized at all. As soon as I hear those types of things, I start to ask myself, where are our bearing points? Is there structural work that's going to need to be done? Are there any major plumbing fixtures on the second floor, on the first floor? And where are they located in the basement? We have to try to work through those details so we can establish, if we finish that basement, are we going to be able to move major plumbing from one area of the house to the other? What is the impact on the second floor? Upstairs, we had recently finished bathrooms. So whatever we were doing on the main floor and in the basement, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to impact the second floor either. So again, a tremendous amount of planning proactively up front to make sure that all the decisions we were making throughout the process were going to work to ultimately the client's advantage and not create any major problems for us while we were doing the renovations. Ultimately, when we sat down and we really got into the details, we realized that if that basement was going to get finished and there were some future plans to do the main floor, that now was going to be the time. From a budgeting perspective, a setup and takedown perspective, manpower and resources that are on site, when you consider the entire scope of work as a whole, there was no doubt that we were going to need to be able to take the budget that they ultimately had for basement and for main floor and get all that work done in one shot. I often have conversations with clients that have spoken to numerous people or are speaking with friends and relatives that have already done renovations, and in their mind they're thinking, well, it's simple, I just finish that basement and then I'll get to the main floor when I can. But what they don't realize is that if there's major plumbing that needs to be moved, if there's electrical that needs to be moved or upgraded, it's far more difficult to do that with a finished space below. So there's a lot of additional costs that get added onto that now main floor project because the basement's already finished. Unfinished, we have full accessibility. There's very little that we can't do. There's very little changes that we can't make because we can see it all. So we're basically eliminating the unknowns. Again, when we sat down and talked about it all, it made perfect sense that we were going to be doing them both at the exact same time. That was going to be the most cost effective. It was going to be the most efficient from a timing perspective. And I mean, really, we did the basement and the main floor in the same amount of time that it would take us to do one of those projects. Well coordinated, well planned, and it worked out in everybody's favor. Challenges on this project were interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, we don't have X-ray vision, unfortunately. We can't see through these walls. We can't determine whether or not structurally things are sound or were done properly when the house was built. But what we typically do is we have this demo phase of the project where we'll poke holes, we'll open up certain areas, we'll bring our engineering team in to do a full overview on the house, look at how things are structurally, try to make as many safe assumptions as we can and speak to them so that we can plan. But once we have things open, we can really see the way that things are. And in this case, there were a lot of framing issues. The client wasn't sure if they wanted to do the full expansion of the kitchen into the dining room area. There was going to be structural elements that were going to need to be considered and taken care of. There was a major plumbing stack and HVAC venting HVAC ductwork. Ultimately, we did do the full span, but we needed to make some modifications on the fly, if you will, where we were able to encapsulate the ductwork and the plumbing stacks so that we could get a beam in carefully, so that we weren't impacting the finished bathrooms that were above us. But the framing was a major issue. It wasn't overly complicated to correct, but it was unexpected. And throughout the process, we just simply communicated with our clients, explained to them what it was that we were encountering, and then together we present them with options that they can consider so that we can ultimately make things right. So basically in the end, what we have, which you will see in the videos, is we have a kitchen that has been expanded down into the dining room space. In that kitchen, we have a peninsula that comes off the wall under the window. That was something that our client really wanted to have. It's an area where their family can collect, they can sit in front of the window, they can sit up to the peninsula and hang out as a family. You'll see that in the video. You will see that we have increased the openings and removed a couple of posts, which opens the area up a little bit. Also, one of the things they really wanted to achieve, which we ultimately were able to do. We did some modifications to the family room and gathering area around the fireplace. When we opened things up, we realized the walls were in fact strapped out, not framed out. The insulation was way under code and completely insufficient. So we were able to frame out those walls flanking either side of the fireplace and properly insulate everything. We actually did that on the back wall of the house as well. The kitchen too was only strapped out and lacked the necessary insulation. So we were able to make those improvements. And then we basically removed a two non-bearing nub walls between what was their dining room and their living room at the front of the house, which also opened it up so they can get a big family table in there and enjoy some space together. Downstairs in the basement, we made all of the typical upgrades. Probably 3/4 of the basement wasn't even framed out, so we did all the necessary framing and insulation. Added pot lights and additional electrical. We changed the layout a little bit. We added a very large bathroom downstairs. They wanted to have a small gym area where the family could work out, and then a bathroom, an additional bathroom that the kids could use after working out. Nice little seating area. There's a wine area between the bathroom and sort of the common area of the basement where they're able to house all of their favorite wines, and a bar that we built into what was your standard basement closet with bifold doors. We opened that space up as much as we could, and we built a custom bar for them down there as well. Feedback we got from the clients on this project was really, I think, our communication being first and foremost. I think what they appreciated most. But if I'm being honest, it was easy to do because these clients were very well prepared. They had done all of their homework. They'd set reasonable expectations for what could happen or what may happen. They were able to work with those challenges as they came up. They had the budget funds set aside. Of course, they had a threshold. We were aware of the threshold, so we were constantly working together to make sure that we could keep things within. But communication, I think, was probably the greatest feedback that we got from them, but I credit them really for it because they also communicated very well and were very well educated and really played well with our team to try to make this project go as smooth as it possibly could. Project completed. I think what I love most about this project is that we were able to check virtually every box they wanted to. Sure, it came at slightly more of an expense than originally anticipated, but again, they were kind of prepared for that. But ultimately, as I work my way through each of these spaces with the client, they speak with so much joy about being able to utilize all of the spaces precisely how they wanted to utilize them. That's ultimately what we're after here. Client brings us into their home. At this stage, it's not exactly working for them. They have all these hopes and dreams about how all the spaces are going to work, and we were able to do that in every single area of this house. And I think you can hear that in their video as well. It's exactly how they wanted it to be. Things the client wanted was a better flow on the main floor. We were able to achieve that. They wanted to better utilize their family room and have a warmer space with no posts, wider openings. We were able to achieve that. They wanted to get their kitchen expanded down into their dining room because their dining room was rarely used. They wanted to have additional seating for their family where they could all sit up to an island or a peninsula, and we were able to achieve that. They wanted the nub walls between dining room and living room removed so that there was a better flow for both lighting and being able to kind of hang out with one another. We were able to achieve that. They wanted their basement upgraded, properly insulated. They wanted to have a gym, they wanted a bathroom, they wanted an area where they could all collect, and they wanted a bar and a wine area so they could serve and hang out with their friends, and we were able to achieve that. In the end, I think we were able to achieve every single thing that they wanted us to achieve. We did it with them, and we had a great time doing it. The real value that our firm offers, I think, is our ability to sit and listen, to work through the details, to use our experiences from over the years to listen to clients. Every client has this huge list of things that they want to achieve on these projects, sometimes very realistic, sometimes not. Our ability to communicate options, not tell them they can't or they won't, but present them with options so that they feel like there's somebody working on their behalf, working with them as a team. If you're struggling with where to start, you can go on our website. We have a contractor checklist that's there. There's 2 or 3 pages of considerations. That checklist can help guide you through some of the considerations that you need to make when considering something like this. You can go on our website, listen to our testimonial videos. You can see our before and after projects. Just watching other people's spaces transform from what was to what is now will show you a lot of things. It'll make you feel just that much more comfortable. When you're on our website and you're looking at our before and after videos, check to see what of those projects have similarities to yours. We've had clients that have called and said, we saw your project on this street. We have a house that's very similar. When they've come to us and we're asking, in our initial phone call, we're asking, what are some of the things that you're hoping to do in this renovation and what is your budget? If there's a reference to a project from our website, it helps us to better understand what the work is that's involved and potentially what the budget could be for that project. Since 2013, we've done over 400 projects. Majority of those projects here in the Burlington area. There's a lot of experience, a lot of individuals that have been involved in projects in this town. So the similarities between your house and another can be really beneficial when understanding the work that's going to be involved for your project. As the owner of Bradburn Group of Companies, I am extremely proud. I'm extremely proud of staff, the projects that we've worked on, the incredible list of trades that we have locally here, from electricians to plumbers to drywall teams to painting teams, you name it. We've built quite the list of incredible companies that are local here to Burlington or close by that are working on these projects. Part of our process is to bring those trade partners with us when we're doing an initial assessment of the house. Once you've signed on with us and we're working together, we bring all of those valuable resources into the project. As many eyes as possible on the project and in your home so that we can do what is best for you on your project. Go on our website, call our office, watch our testimonial videos, hear directly from some of our clients. Check out our before and after videos, read our blogs. When you're ready, call our office. We would love to talk to you.